Joe Stuart, a life well lived. Joseph Floyd Stuart came into this world on September 13, 1917, in Fort Hall, Idaho, a town about 8 miles north of Pocatello. Joe later described Fort Hall this way: "If you blinked while driving through, you might miss it." That tells you two things right away. First, Fort Hall was small. Second, Joe Stuart had a pretty good sense of humor. He was born to William Charles Stuart and Melvina Pope Stuart and grew up with two brothers, Claude and Lawrence, and two sisters, Dorothy and Beulah. Life wasn't always easy. His mother lost 2 babies during childbirth and later died of cancer at only 49. His father died at 63 from a heart attack. But when Joe looked back on his childhood, the memories he chose to emphasize weren't the hardships. He remembered being happy, life on the farm. Joe's father was a farmer, growing mostly sugar beets and potatoes. As Joe put it, when you're working beside your father every day, you develop a pretty strong love for each other. Apparently, you also learn not to talk back. Joe remembered that his dad kept a razor strap handy, just in case anyone forgot who was running the farm. His mother was every bit as hardworking. Besides cooking, cleaning, raising the children, and keeping the household running, she helped on the farm. In other words, she had absolutely nothing to do. For a while, the Stuart family operated a dairy with about 40 cows. Joe and his brothers learned to milk at a very young age. Every morning and every night, the cows had to be milked, and the milk was poured into glass bottles and delivered to customers in Pocatello for 10 cents a quart. Sometimes little Joe went along with his father on the milk road. His father would operate the gas pedal while Joe steered. Joe was about 8 or 9 years old. Apparently, Idaho driver's education was a little more relaxed in the 1920s. Joe remembered thinking his father wouldn't let him go fast enough, at 8 years old, while delivering milk. Somehow they both survived, moving up in the world. In 1926, Joe's father sold the dairy and bought 10 acres about half a mile from their home. While the new house was being built, the family lived temporarily in the chicken coop. Today, that would probably be advertised online as a rustic farmhouse experience. The new house was quite an improvement over the old one. The biggest luxury? An indoor bathroom. The previous house had an outhouse, so as far as young Joe was concerned, civilization had officially arrived. His father went into the chicken business, selling fryers for 50 cents each and plenty of eggs. It was there that Joe heard his first radio. In those days, you practically had to hold a horn to your ear to hear it. Joe thought it was the greatest invention in the world. He hadn't seen anything yet. Soon the road near their house was paved. Before that, the family often traveled to church by horse and buggy. They put hay in the wagon so the horses could eat while everybody was inside worshiping. On particularly dusty Sundays, Joe remembered racing other wagons home. By the time they arrived, everyone looked as though someone had dumped a sack of flour over them. Nothing says Sunday best, quite like being covered head to toe in Idaho road dust. Pigs, porcupines, and other educational experiences. Around 1927, Joe's father rented out their home and leased a farm about 4 miles away. It had roughly 160 acres and plenty of barns and outbuildings for boys to explore. Joe loved it. One day, one of their pigs picked a fight with a porcupine. The porcupine won. The pig came home with a nose full of quills, and Joe had the exciting job of holding the pig still while his father pulled them out with pliers. That was probably not covered in the Boy Scout handbook. Another day, Joe's brother Lawrence was trying to get a horse to move. Joe decided the horse needed encouragement, so he slapped it on the rear. The horse jumped. Lawrence flew off backwards and broke his arm. Joe was 10. Lawrence was 8. Their mother was furious. Joe was terrified. It would not be the last time Joe learned that helping your brother isn't always helpful. Getting to school, eventually. Idaho winters could be brutal. Sometimes the snow was so deep that the school bus couldn't make it down the road. When that happened, Joe's father would hook a team of horses to the front of the bus and pull it through the snow along the entire route. By the time the children reached school, they were nearly frozen. Their teacher, Miss Fulmer, would take off their wet shoes and socks, put their feet in warm water, and rub them until feeling returned. Joe remembered her almost as a second mother. He also remembered another teacher particularly well, Miss Bowling. Joe was in 2nd grade, and Joe was in love. He thought she was beautiful. Then one day, her boyfriend came to visit the school. Joe was devastated. He admitted he became so jealous he could hardly stand it. He was 7 years old. Joe Stuart may not have finished high school, but apparently he completed his doctorate in romance sometime during 2nd grade. A hardhead. At about age 10, Joe decided to jump over the banister of the school gymnasium. This plan did not end well. He slipped and landed on his head. Joe was unconscious for 2 or 3 hours. Today, there would be ambulances, CT scans, neurologists, and probably 6 lawyers. In Joe's day, they put him in the furnace room because it was warm. Eventually, he woke up. His mother was sitting beside him. Joe didn't know what had happened, but he did have a very large lump on his head. Different times. California and the Great Depression. When Joe's father became too crippled with arthritis to continue farming, the family sold their Idaho home and headed for California. His father attended automotive school and opened a garage and service station. Unfortunately, this was during the Great Depression. Jobs were scarce. Food lines stretched across Los Angeles, and simply keeping a family fed was a daily struggle. Even during those difficult days, Joe's father continued paying his tithing. At one point, the family received a $100 payment from the man who had purchased their Idaho home. Joe's father took that $100 to church and gave it to the bishop for back tithing. Joe's mother was not particularly pleased. She felt tithing could wait so they could eat, but Joe's dad felt different. After church, the bishop approached Joe's father and explained that his car badly needed an overhaul. He gave him $250 for the repairs. Joe's father went to church with $100 and came home with $250. Apparently, even during the Depression, Joe's dad knew a pretty good return on investment when he saw one, and the blessings of paying your tithe, discovering music, and Evelyn. Eventually, the family returned to Idaho. By 8th grade, Joe discovered he could sing. Not just sing, he could hit the high notes. He auditioned for a school musical and got the lead. Music became an important part of his life, although farm work frequently interfered with school. Joe eventually left high school during his junior year. It was also during those years that something much more important happened. He met Evelyn. They sang together in the church choir. One Christmas, the choir director asked Joe and Evelyn to sing a duet. After that, Joe asked her out. Soon he was riding his horse roughly 2 miles to Evelyn's house. Transportation in those days was usually a horse. Joe's horse was named Smiler because when the horse was young, Smiler got its mouth tangled up in some barbed wire, and when it healed, he always looked like he was smiling at you. On Joe's visits, Evelyn played the piano. Joe sang, and the two of them fell in love. After nearly 2 years of courtship, Joe moved to California to work at a large dairy in Hemet. And then something interesting happened. Evelyn followed him to California. Joe wrote simply, "Well, guess who followed me to California? Evelyn." At that point, Joe probably figured he ought to take the hint. They married November 29th, 1937. And until Joe passed away in 2003, they were still singing together with perfect harmony. Joe and Evelyn's first child was a beautiful baby boy named Richard Floyd. Eventually came Rodney, Johnny, and Joanne. Joanne arrived on April 1st, April Fool's Day. Joe joked that he couldn't make Evelyn believe they'd had a little girl. When the nurses brought Joanne in to nurse Evelyn, insisted they bring her real baby to her. She just couldn't believe she finally had a baby girl. In time, there would be more children: Judy, Kent, Pam, Danny, Janice, and Debbie. 10 children altogether. If Joe thought milking 40 cows twice a day had prepared him for hard work, fatherhood was about to give him an advanced course. In October 1946, their oldest son Richard was riding his bicycle when he was struck by a car and killed. He was not yet 8 years old. Joe simply wrote that it was very sad for us after we lost our boy. Those few words say more than a page ever could, and the difficulties continued. Evelyn was later seriously injured in an automobile accident. Then, on a Sunday morning just before Christmas, their home burned to the ground. The fire was started by a faulty furnace, They lost everything, including a beauty shop and small clothing store Evelyn's had started in the front room, displayed through a large window in the front of the house. Dad recalls them trying to save the window for Mother, but when they set it in the snow, the hot window shattered. Joe remembered something extraordinary about that experience of their home burning down and losing everything. The neighbors around them came to their rescue. Friends and neighbors brought clothes, food, furniture, quilts, and everything the family needed. Their bishop and the church elders organized the rebuilding of their home. Joe later called them the greatest people in the world. That may tell us more about Joe than the fire itself. He remembered the people who helped. Well, let's take off our coats. After the fire, the family temporarily moved into a basement while their house was rebuilt. Joanne was only about 2 years old. She looked around and asked, "Are we going to live here now?" Her parents told her yes. This would be home for a while. Joanne thought about that for a moment and replied, "Well, let's take off our coats then." There may not be a better description of the Stuart family philosophy anywhere in Joe's story. Wherever you are, make it home, and take off your coat, from milkman to grocer. Joe spent much of his working life in the dairy and grocery businesses. He managed milk departments, worked for creameries, and eventually found that he liked grocery work even better than dairy work. Perhaps after milking enough cows, a man begins to appreciate products that arrive already packaged. The family moved several times: Idaho, California, back to Idaho, Yuba City, Sacramento, and eventually Los Angeles. At one point, Joe suffered a serious kidney illness and learned he had 4 kidneys. Most people get 2. Joe apparently believed in having backups. He underwent surgery and spent considerable time in and out of hospitals before recovering. The singing Stewarts. Music remained a constant in the Stewart household. Evelyn taught the children to sing, and Rodney, Johnny, and Joanne formed a trio. They became good enough that they began performing for money at fairs and other events. One morning, Evelyn was listening to Bob Crosby's radio program on CBS in Hollywood. Most mothers would simply listen. Evelyn picked up the telephone. She called Bob Crosby and told him about her children, and somehow she got his attention. Crosby invited her to bring the trio to his show so he could hear them.
See, now you don't know. Now you see what I mean?
3 boys and 3 girls.
3 boys and 3 girls. Well, now we're going to have a number from the 3 older ones here, and you're going to play for them at the piano, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right, now I'll talk to them. Honey, what's your name?
Joanne.
You're Joanne. How old are you?
I'm 12.
And your name?
Ron.
Ron?
Mm-hmm.
How old are you, Ron?
16.
16. And you?
Johnny.
You're Johnny. All right, here they are now. You're going to sing Shortening Bread, right? With Mama at the piano.
Put on the skillet, put on the lid. Mam's gonna make a little shortening bread. That ain't all she's gonna do. Mam's gonna make a little chocolate too. A Mammy's little baby loves shortening, shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. A Mammy's little baby loves shortening, shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. 3 little fellas lying in bed.
2 is mighty sick, yeah, they're almost dead.
I sent for the doctor said, I give them little fellas eat some shortening bread. A Mammy's little baby loves shortening, shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. A Mammy's little baby loves shortening, shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. Stole in the kitchen, I pushed up the lid. Filled the pots full of shortening bread. I stole the skillet,
I stole the lead.
I stole the gal to make that shortening bread. Mammy's little baby loves shortening, shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. Mammy's little baby loves shortening, shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. Caught me with the skillet,
Caught me with the lead.
caught me with the gal to make that shortening bread. Paid for the skillet,
Paid for the lead.
spent 6 months in jail eating shortening bread. A Mammy's little baby loves shortening, shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. Mammy's little baby loves shortening, shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread.
The young Stewarts. Let's see, what's your name, son?
My name's Ken.
You're Ken. How old are you, Ken?
6.5.
6.5. And honey, how old are you?
5.
5.
5.
And how old are you, honey?
7.
And what's your name?
Judy.
Judy. And yours?
Pamela.
Pamela. All right, now they have a number they worked up called, what's the name of this?
Old MacDonald had a farm.
That's right, boy. And you sing into this mic, and you all can sing into that mic, okay? All right, here we go now, the entire Stuart family. Mama's nervous back there at the piano now. Are you all ready now? All right, Miss Stuart.
Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on the farm he had a chicken, E-I-E-I-O. Cluck, cluck here, cluck, cluck there, here, cluck, 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 here, cluck, cluck. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on his farm he had a duck, E-I-E-I-O. With a quack, quack here, and quack, quack there, here, quack there, quack everywhere, quack, 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 quack here, and quack, quack there, here, quack there, quack everywhere, quack, quack. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on this farm he had a turkey, E-I-E-I-O. With a gob, gob here, and a gob, gob there, here, gob there, gob, quack, quack here, and a quack, quack there, here, quack there, quack everywhere, quack, 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 quack here, and a quack, quack there, here, quack there, quack everywhere, quack, quack. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on this farm he had a dog, E-I-E-I-O. With a bow wow here and a bow wow there, here bow there, wow everywhere, bow wow, gob gob here and a gob gob there, here gob there, gob gob, quack quack here and a quack quack there, here quack there, quack everywhere, quack quack, quack quack here and a quack quack there, here quack there, quack everywhere, quack quack. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.
And on his farm he had a cow.
E-I-E-I-O. With a moo moo here and a moo moo there, here moo there, moo everywhere, moo moo, bow wow here and a bow wow there, here bow there, wow everywhere, bow wow, gob gob here and a gob gob there, here gob there, gob everywhere, gob gob, quack quack here and quack quack there, here quack there, quack everywhere, quack quack, quack quack here and quack quack there, here quack there, quack everywhere, quack quack. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on this farm he had a wife, E-I-E-I-O. With a gimme here and a gimme there, here gimme there, gimme moo moo here and a moo moo there, here moo there, moo everywhere, moo moo, bow wow here and bow wow there, here bow there, bow everywhere, bow wow, gob gob here and gob gob there, here gob there, gob everywhere, gob gob, quack quack here and quack quack there, here quack there, quack everywhere, quack quack, quack quack here and quack quack there, here quack there, quack everywhere, quack quack. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O.
Well, I don't know how that sounded, but it sure looked real good. That was 6 members of the Stuart family there. And Miss Stuart, you got a baseball team now, and you got some talented youngsters.
There wasn't enough immediate opportunity to support a family by performing, but Crosby referred them to Cliffy Stone, who worked extensively with young entertainers. That opened another chapter. Johnny eventually sang in a school trio called the Three Keys. Rodney sang with the Beach Boys before they were the Beach Boys. Joanne performed in school musicals. And before long, the Stuart children's talent became one of the reasons the entire family moved to Los Angeles. Then Janice and Debbie were born. Living near Hollywood, Evelyn took the opportunity to sign the 4 youngest, Pam, Danny, Janice, and Debbie, up with Central Casting, and they were all successful extras in the TV and motion picture industry for nearly 20 years. Joe summed it up simply. Our children continued to grow up, and what a good-looking family we had. No false modesty there. The bunny hop. While living in Los Angeles, Evelyn invented a baby swing called the bunny hop. The family had previously sold another swing called the jumping jack, but Evelyn decided she could improve it. The bunny hop had a bunny tail and a bunny face. Naturally. Around the same time, Evelyn appeared on the television program Queen for a Day and won. The program showered her with prizes, and she asked for items that would help with the baby swing business. Joe quit his job for a while and went into sales promoting the bunny hop. He traveled to New York, Chicago, Detroit, and other major cities trying to get the bunny hop off the ground. They had a good product. They had enthusiasm. What they didn't have was advertising money. Joe eventually returned to regular work. But the entrepreneurial streak in the Stuart family was firmly established. It would not be the last Stuart business venture. 10 children, and then some. Eventually, the Stuart children grew up, married, and started families of their own. Joe wrote about each of them, their spouses, their careers, their musical ability, their children, and the lives they had built. Rodney and Diane had 6 children. Johnny and Alex had 5. Joanne and Jack had 6. Judy had 6. Kent and Tammy had 3. Pam and Jim had 4 daughters and a son. Danny and Cindy had 4 children. Janice and Robert had 3. Debbie had 3, and the family kept growing. By the time Joe wrote his life story, he and Evelyn had approximately 42 grandchildren and 22 great-grandchildren. For most people, organizing Thanksgiving dinner means figuring out whether to cook 1 turkey or 2. For Joe and Evelyn Stuart, it probably required a seating chart, traffic control, and a building permit. One more career. After nearly 30 years in the grocery business, Joe retired. Naturally, retirement lasted just long enough for him to find another job. He went to work for Vitamix. For about 14 years, Joe traveled throughout the United States demonstrating and selling Vitamix machines. So after a lifetime that included farming, dairy work, milk delivery, auto repair, grocery stores, baby swings, and raising 10 children, Joe became a traveling salesman. Which, looking back, seems almost inevitable. He had spent his entire life learning how to talk to people, what Joe thought mattered. Joe was 79 years old when he wrote his life story. Evelyn was 78. They had been married 59 years. They had traveled, raised 10 children, buried a child, survived illness, accidents, the Depression, and a house fire. They had watched children become entertainers, business people, teachers, parents, and grandparents. And through all of it, Joe's story keeps returning to the same things: family, faith, work, music, friends, and Evelyn. Toward the end of his story, Joe wrote, "I have had a very happy life." Considering everything he had been through, that might be the most remarkable sentence and memory. Joe Stewart's life wasn't remarkable because everything went right. Plenty went wrong. It was remarkable because through almost 80 years of farming, milk cows, Depression-era California, snowbound school buses, porcupine attacks, broken arms, fires, sickness, children, grandchildren, music, travel, and more moves than anybody should reasonably have to make, Joe continued to see his life as something good. He loved his parents. He loved his brothers and sisters. He loved his church. He adored Evelyn. And he was enormously proud of his children and the family they created together. Maybe that's the real Stewart inheritance. Not money, not property, not even the ability to sing. It's the ability to go through some awfully difficult times, surround yourself with family, laugh about the parts worth laughing about, remember the people who helped you along the way. And at the end of it all, be able to say, "I have had a very happy life."